about Georgia? Because Georgia is going to Starkville, Mississippi this coming Saturday. And Georgia is coming off a spot where they just beat the number 1 ranked team in the country. And now Georgia is that undisputed heavyweight champ until somebody else tries to take the belt from them. Georgia's a 16.5-point favorite. Game's played at 7 Eastern. And you just wonder, where's the psyche of this program? Now, far be it for me to question Kirby Smart, but there is a lot of guys on this defense especially that are new to being starters. So how do they respond after having an enormous emotional win in Athens, taking the show on the road? Just curious to see, is this potentially a letdown spot for the Bulldogs? Well, they play another Bulldog team that really limped past an Auburn program that's in disarray. That's another video for another time, but Mississippi State is not pleased with their performance a week ago. So you would imagine there was a challenge issued internally from Mike Leach to the rest of that locker room. Hey, you got the big dog coming to town. Give them your best. And that's nothing new for Georgia. They understand that's just kind of what comes with being the reigning national champion and having that block G on your helmet. Like, that's just kind of the territory that you're in. But I think it's an interesting game. 16.5 points. It would be an upset, to say the least. It would be a shocking upset. Let's break it down just a little bit. We do hinge points for every single breakdown that we do. I really just have one for you in this game. The only hinge point that matters to me is, what's Georgia's approach? Because like we already talked about, huge emotional victory, and now you're telling me I got to go on the road to Starkville, Mississippi. There is every opportunity for this program, if their mind is not right, for this game to feel like a chore. And that's how upsets start. You know, the big dog, the team that's supposed to win, comes in and they don't have their full attention and they kind of mess around for a quarter and a half. And before you know it, you're in a fight in the fourth quarter. So Georgia has every single edge in this game. That's not novel analysis. You know it and I know it. You go through every single matchup, whether it's the line of scrimmage, whether it's the receiving core, whether it's the secondary, the linebacking group. Like, Georgia has every single edge. But you still have to step between the white lines and do it for 4 quarters. Just kind of the nature of the beast. Curious to see what kind of approach they bring. Because like we already talked about, if they're sluggish and mess around, well, the momentum swings toward Mississippi State at home. It's a dangerous thing. Every single upset starts with momentum. Georgia has a chance to snuff that out early, in my opinion. But for Mississippi State, you can capture a little bit of, bottle it up. I mean, we'll see. We'll just see what happens there. The way that Mississippi State, in my opinion, could make things interesting, if they were to somehow surmount that 16.5-point deficit that they're being dealt by Vegas, if they're able to, pull off the upset, I think it would start with, like I said, capturing momentum. But that, to me, starts on the offensive side of the ball. That first series, when the plays are scripted, for those of you that don't know, the offensive coordinator, the play caller, will script that first anywhere from 10 to 15 plays, the first drive. If they can execute at the best level they have all season long, because it would take that, and they can draw first blood, then maybe you start not feeling uneasy as a Georgia fan, but you just say, what's going on here? Hey, we're Georgia. Why is this going on? Why is this happening? Mississippi State starts to say, okay, maybe we have some juice here. Maybe we found something we can work off of. And that's the other thing from Mississippi State that I think this game would require. You're not going to win all the matchups, which is probably putting it lightly. Like, of the 22 matchups you have, if you can just find one, and have it be extremely effective, well, then maybe there's a talking point there. Because they got some guys to do it. Ra Thomas, Jameer Calvin, Caleb Ducking. They got dudes. Plus, Will Rogers is a baller. He's top 10 in touchdowns and yards, which is no surprise given Mike Leach's air raid system. But if you can just find one matchup and be able to just continue to sort of pry at that and capitalize on that, that's how this could potentially get interesting. That's how this upset, quote unquote, I don't know why I put quotes there. It would be a huge upset. That's how it would happen. That's how you keep this game close. Now, first of all, you got to find it, right? Like, that's the first part of this. You got to find a matchup. Because I'm looking on paper here, and you're probably stretching a little bit. But beautiful thing of college football, anything can happen. Any Saturday, it's anyone's game, but that's what you would need, in my opinion, from Mississippi State to get this kind of thing done. Because you're not running the football. Like, Georgia's too good in that front seven. Ask Tennessee about it. Georgia is not going to allow you to run the football. So that matchup, in my opinion, would have to happen somewhere on the outside with the skill position. All right? Here's what it comes down to for me in terms of what the backbreaker likely is in this game. Regardless of whatever matchup Mississippi State finds or tries to find on the outside, you still have to deal with the Georgia offense. And the Georgia offense is catching their stride at the most inopportune time for you if you're a Mississippi State Bulldog fan. Because right now, they are one of the only teams in the country, they may be the only team in the country, averaging 300 yards passing through the air and then 200 yards on the ground. Translation, they're so multiple with how they can play this game with you. If you want to sell out and just give everything you have to the run game, well, I wouldn't recommend doing that because they're really good through the air. Stetson Bennett taking another step as the leader for this team going forward. Looks so comfortable offensively with what they ask of him, getting him the right play. Like, you're not going to win that way, all right? So then you say, we'll try and commit more to the playmakers on the outside. It's not going to work either because the run game is now starting to cook. Dejan Edwards, Kenny McIntosh. We saw Milton last week. Curious to see how healthy he is going forward. Like, this program is just becoming more and more dangerous, and we've said as much on this channel. So at the end of the day, barring some absurd effort from Mississippi State to make this game interesting, we think the Georgia Bulldogs rather, roll at the end of the day 43-14, getting a huge win in terms of the margin in Starkville. And the Dogs keep on charging towards Atlanta. Just kind of the way this thing goes. Honestly, Georgia, and that's the scary thing for everybody else across the country, Georgia right now is starting to play their best football of the season. Remember there was a time during the year where you said, are they gettable? Could maybe a team with a little bit more firepower get them? Because we saw them maybe look a little bit lackluster against Kent State. Heck, Missouri sort of pushed them to the wire. And I'm telling you, this Georgia team right now, you don't want to play them. Fully expect them to be in the college football playoff. Fully expect them, as of right now, to run the table and be in that SEC title game. I would love to see a Georgia-LSU matchup. That would be a whole lot of fun. Hope that happens, but regardless, we think they win that game. Think they win that game fairly handily. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.